Hi, I'm Colleen.
And I'm Kayla. Welcome to our CrafterNoon adventures. Today's craft is needle felting a flower. Needle felting is a process which uses barbed needles to interlock wool fibers to form a more condensed material into whatever decorative form you choose. So a lot of people make animals. Today we're going to be making a flower. We actually 3D printed this cookie cutter shape of a flower because this is very easy for beginners to start with a shape. And we like easy here. So this is a piece of foam. It helps to keep your project from getting all over the place. It also gives your project a space for the barbed needle to go through. In a kit, we got a bunch of barbed needles. So here's one of our needles. We also purchased these, which nobody ever seems to use here. This is just to protect your finger when you're poking away in case you get hurt. I am gonna opt not to use this time. And this is your wool roving. We had sample packs of these come in. So I'm going to be making a purple flower with a yellow middle. Just pulling these out of the bag. So this is what the wool roving looks like. You can pull it apart, make it fit as thin as you want, especially if you need to take off just a little piece because you're going to make something small. And here, this is all wrapped up. So I put my cookie cutter onto my piece of foam, like this. See that there are sly little barbs, little crevices in the needle. And that is what tangles the wool roving and makes it into a firmer object. You're gonna fill your flower with the wool roving. You can start with a little bit at a time. It's going to shrink down as you start. So pull it apart if you need. Fill in your cookie cutter. Give it a little more on this side. First do this whole part with your fingers. And then the stress relieving part is starting to stab into this. Again, please be careful with your fingers because it is a needle. I learned is to keep turning it so that you don't actually rove it into the foam because you don't want that. You just keep grabbing this and keep turning it when you can. And you'll notice more and more it kind of conforms to the shape. At some point, you are going to want to flip this over. See how it's not as condensed on this side, so you want to do the same exact thing on the other side. It also doesn't seem to be fitting as well into the flower. So you want to go back in and shape it. Turn it again. And a lot of the questions I get from people who do this project, they ask, well, how do I know when I'm finished? And you'll start to feel your needle get some resistance back from the wool, and once you poke it more, you won't see much of the fibers moving as much, or you won't feel them condensing, and it'll get a little firmer. And that's usually when I stop. I just feel like nothing's happening anymore. And that's when you know that it's a fine place to stop. It'll never get totally firm because it's still wool, but certainly a lot more firmer than when you started. And it should hold its shape. So I'm just filling in a few more places that seem a little thin. And you'll start to see that less is happening as I'm going along here. And I'm starting to feel some resistance. Like there's nowhere else for really my needle to go. It's not going totally through this anymore. So now this is when you want to lift your shape off. You can lay this down on your work surface because it might be easier and you might have a little less of a chance of stabbing yourself. And just go in between here, firm it up a bit. And then we're going to go to each individual petal and shape it a little bit more because it needs a little bit of help here, especially up here. Okay, so the next phase of this is to give your flower a center. So I just pulled off a little bit of the yellow, you really don't need that much. And first what you're gonna do is roll it up in a ball with just your fingers. You could take off your flower for a moment and you're just focusing on getting this into a circular shape. So I'm folding over, I already squished it and made it into a circle, and I'm folding it over with my needle repeatedly until I get a circle, a circular shape. And it might take a little time, you might need to go a little bit slower because now you're making a shape freeform. You don't have a cookie cutter or anything established around it. You're just going by your eyeball. And you can also turn it in a circle in your palms. Whoops. Figure out whether it is the right size. I think this is going to be the right size, so I probably won't need any more wool roving added to this circle. And I'm just going to keep at it. What I usually like to do is anchor it once in the foam, and that way it'll stay there so that I can then, without poking myself, move my fingers and just continue poking at it and flattening it a little bit. Okay, once you have the shape that you want and the size, you're going to take your flower back and you're going to put it in the middle. Figure out which is the best side of your flower. Looking at it a little bit, I think this one calls for this in the middle. So you're going to add your center by just poking around the edges all the way through the flower. And this will, again, tangle the fibers into the other fibers so that it won't come off. It's still a delicate piece, mind you, but this will make sure that it's at least sticky enough to stay there and remain a decorative object in your home. So here you could continue to do this. It's really hard to tell when to stop. to know when it's connected, but if you turn it over and it's really not moving, you can move around with your fingers a bit and see if there are any points that really move too easily. And that's it. So once you have this, you can either attach a magnet to the back, a sticker to put it up onto a fridge or on a board. You could pin it, and there you go. You have this nice little needle felted flower. We hope you enjoyed today's craft. Most projects we demonstrate can be made in under an hour and require a few basic tools or supplies.
Have questions or suggestions for future videos? Use the comment section below and we'll add it to our list. Thanks for watching, and remember the Makerspace mantra.
The only limit is your imagination.